be included in a book like this. And then when we read through our 40 favorite stories, they just kind of naturally fell into these three piles, and the chapters emerged.
Talk about enduring love, Dave, I say.
Sure. So these are another dozen stories of moms, and I think part of what you see from StoryCorps, what you learn from your show, is that the moms in this book are really someone described it as kind of a Noah's Ark of this country. It's just everybody, and that's what we try and do with StoryCorps. And you see no matter where a mom comes from, whether she has 1 kid or 15 kids, single mom, if she's working or stay at home, that they all share this fierce devotion for their kids and love. And these are stories of moms and often more difficult kind of stories about their devotion to their kids. And I think we're going to listen to, just like moms are not, this is not a syrupy book, and some of these stories are funny, and some of them are full of wisdom, and some of them are tragic, and I think we're going to listen to a story of tragedy, and this is Myra Dean, who came to StoryCorps to remember her son, Richard Damon Stark. He was 9 years old when he died, and he was sitting with a friend of his in Texas on a patch of grass watching the sunset when he was hit by a car.
People used to ask him what he wanted to be when he grew up, and he used to tell people he either wanted to be a marine biologist or a garbage man. He wanted to be 10, and he didn't make it. A guy had been hot rodding through our neighborhood. The car flipped over, and it landed on Rich. And all I can remember is they had pulled the driver out, and he kept saying, "Oh, my God, what have I done? What have I done?" They put me in a police car, and I just started screaming. And the ambulance driver came to me at the hospital and said there was nothing we could do. He's gone. And I can remember having my back to the wall, and I just slid down on my butt, leaning against the wall. And he said, "Ma'am, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but he was dead at the scene." He'll never know what that meant to me, because one of the things that was the hardest for me was, what if he was suffering and I wasn't there for him, And the worst part is when you realize you're going to live because you just want to die. I thought I wouldn't live 10 minutes, and I was astonished when I'd lived 10 days and mortified when I'd lived 10 months, and not even grateful yet when I had lived 10 years. I was just mostly surprised. And there was no one more astonished that I'd survived it than myself. When you lose your child, it's like somebody has just amputated a huge chunk of your heart. And the difference is people can't see the amputation. I miss him terribly. He was just a happy kid, and it's been a bittersweet thing that he died watching a sunset.
Myra Dean remembering her son in Texas. These are painful, they're beautiful, people have mixed feelings, and that is expressed in all of this.
Yeah. And they're authentic, and that's what, we're surrounded, as you explain on your show every day, by so much phoniness and so much spin, that when you hear people just talking from the heart and being real, it just cuts right through you. And that's what, no one's looking for fame when they're coming to StoryCorps, and I think that's part of the power of this project. People are just coming to connect with another human being in an honest way.
And then, Dave, I say you started the Griot Project.
Well, we have a number of projects as part of StoryCorps that are special initiatives. So we have the Griot Initiative, which is to record African-American stories across the country, which recently became the largest collection of African-American voices ever gathered, surpassing the incredible slave narratives that were done as part of the WPA in the 1930s. We have an initiative called Historias, which is now, which we launched about 6 months ago, recording Latino stories across the country. We have 9/11 Project. We have a project about Alzheimer's disease, where families who have someone recently diagnosed with Alzheimer's come and record that person and save their memories for posterity. And I think that's, and you were asking me about another story to talk about, and the last story in the book in enduring love is I've been on book tour, and I've gotten to meet so many people from the book, and I got to meet one of the people in this story. It's a woman named Rebecca who took her mother, Carol Kirsch, to StoryCorps, and Rebecca was about to have a baby. And Carol had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's fairly recently, although the onset was very, very fast, and they're very close. And Rebecca wanted to save the stories and the songs of her mom before her mom couldn't do that anymore. And when I saw Rebecca last week in San Francisco at a reading, she said that her mom was no longer able to speak. But in this interview, she was able to sing songs to the baby. As Rebecca says, I think it would be great if you could just sing a lullaby for her, for the baby, for me and for her, and for future babies that aren't here and aren't twinkling in anyone's eyes quite yet. Maybe you could sing just one of those lullabies, and she does.
If people want to get in touch to tell their stories, to interview someone they care about, how do they reach StoryCorps?
So we have a website, which is StoryCorps.org, and we still, we're still relatively small. We're working to grow into a national institution that touches the lives of every American family. We're not there yet, but we do have booths that travel the country. We have booths now in San Francisco and New York and Atlanta, so you can make a reservation and go there. But we have these mobile booths that are everywhere. So just come on our website, and when we come to your town, just grab a slot and bring a loved one. I promise you won't regret it. And I promise that when you bring someone to the booth, not only will it make them feel really good, and we hear from people all the time, and Amy, you know this. I mean, people say that those 40 minutes of having this conversation are often among the 40 most important minutes in their lives.